Hello, Brother Monroe here. Welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts and yet another tutorial style video on how to build heavy cruisers for the campaign. And as with the other videos that I've done on this, I am using Spain and 1930 Custom Battle just because it's easier for me to record. Spain because they have a small selection of hulls, but they have a fairly varied section, so kind of covers a lot of nations. 1930 because if you're new to the game, that's when I recommend you start the campaign. Now, experienced players probably know all of this already, but you know, maybe there's something else that I've missed, and you can let me know down in the comments and let others know down in the comments. But this is mainly aimed at people who want to learn how do you design a heavy cruiser. Well, I've already covered the main thing I'm going to say, which is restraint, in the battleships video. So you don't want your heavy cruisers being stupidly expensive, first of all, and do keep that in mind. The second thing is there are basically three kinds of heavy cruiser that you can build. You can build big heavy cruisers armed with 11-inch guns, the super cruisers, and those are so similar to cruiser killer battle cruisers that I recommend you go and watch the second half of the battlecruiser video where I show you how to build a ship on the large cruiser hull. Pretty much everything that I said in that part of the video applies here, except you are limited to 11-inch guns. You don't have access to 12s or 13s. But otherwise, same procedure, just build them like that. The other thing you can do with a heavy cruiser is to build a kind of lightweight heavy cruiser armed with 6-inch guns or maybe 7-inch guns. And this is basically going to turn out to be a light cruiser with a couple of key differences. And I'm going to cover most of how to build light cruisers in their own video, but 6 and 7-inch guns puts you in the same territory as a light cruiser, so you're not going to have, the firepower of a heavy cruiser. So why would you bother? Well, there's two reasons. One is that you can fit anti-torpedo belts to heavy cruisers. You can't for light cruisers. Another reason is hull selection. Some of the light cruiser hulls are just genuinely terrible. And if you don't have a good one, a heavy cruiser can stand in. The other is that your belt armor and, well, all your armor on a heavy cruiser can be much thicker than a light cruiser. So you can build a heavily armored 6-inch armed ship, for instance, with loads of 6-inch guns all over it, kind of like a brawler. But I'll cover more of that in the light cruiser video. What we're going to be looking at today is your typical medium weight heavy cruiser, which is based around the 8, the 9, or the 10-inch gun. And I'm going to talk about guns first, because nearly always when you're playing the campaign, there will be a bit of a divide here that's not immediately obvious. Normally, the lower the size of gun, the better the mark of gun is probably going to be. You can see here the 11s are Mark 4, and then the 10s are Mark 5s. So you'd expect everything below a Mark 10 to be a Mark 5, but it's not. See here, the 8-inch goes back down to a Mark 4, and this is very common. And this is because the 8-inch gun sits at the end of the small gun tech category, so is usually the last to research, whereas the 9-inch gun sits at the start of the big gun tech category. So you usually have better 9-inch guns than you do 8-inch guns. So 8-inch guns, although they're the historical kind of go-to for a heavy cruiser, probably 9 times out of 10 they're not a good pick because they're going to be a lower tech. So the 9-inch gun for me is absolutely perfect for a heavy cruiser. You can go up to the 10-inch gun. They are better. They have better accuracy, better damage, and they are able to be a lot more punchy, but they are noticeably more expensive and noticeably heavier, so you're probably not going to be able to armor the ship quite as much. So for me, 9-inch gun is kind of a perfect sort of medium. So that's what we're going to be building the ship around. Now, in terms of which hull to pick, here I'm going to say restraint. Some heavy cruisers like this one can get enormous. 21,500 tons is incredibly bulky for a heavy cruiser. And especially for a medium weight heavy cruiser, you do not want a massive ship like that. It's going to get very expensive. So I'm actually going to build this on Modern Heavy Cruiser 1. We do lose a little bit of stability, but our hull form is better, our floatability is better, our resistance is more or less the same. We get a better sustained speed while turning, but we're a little bit more visible, which is a bit weird. But the other advantage is that the optimal speed of this hull is 33 knots. This one's only 29.5. So this one, we can keep our beam and draft at 0. And I think we'll overall have a more effective balanced ship than this one. If I was choosing this one, it would be for a super cruiser build, so an 11-inch gun build. But for a 9-inch gun build, the Modern Heavy Cruiser 1 is going to be absolutely fine. So our optimal speed is 33, so we might as well go for that. And we're going to set the other sliders to medium. And just as we have with some of the other ships, we're going to go minimum displacement to start off with, and then we can always increase that later if we need a little bit more in terms of firepower. Now, in terms of the towers, it looks like a lot of choice, but it's not hugely. You have the advanced tower here, which potentially is interesting. But I think the medium cruiser towers are probably better, although well, there's a lot to choose from. I don't like these ones. They're not that good. It just depends how much you want to spend, really, doesn't it? I think I'm going to go for this one, the Modern Cruiser Tower, Medium Cruiser Tower 2 Enhanced, because it has a really nice night vision stat, which is pretty good. Good aiming speed, good base accuracy, good long range. All that's pretty good. The only thing I'm losing out on over the Advanced Tower is... Oh, I'm not sure I'm losing anything, actually. Yeah. This is just flat better. So we're going to go with that one. That's a very nice tower. Secondary tower size is going to be a important consideration for us, because that takes up a lot of space. So all of these, for me, are right out. So we're looking at the rear tower 5, which is pretty rubbish. And this one's twice as good, even on just base accuracy. And then this one is also good, but it's pretty big. So for me, it's going to be the compact secondary tower 2. Yes, that'll work. Now, I have a suspicion that this tower is for the Japanese, and I suspect I'm not going to be able to fit a funnel in there because we have different funnels. But let's get our engine set up. Nothing unusual here. Same setup that I've been using for all of the other ships. Now then, can we get that big thick funnel in? No. Maybe? No. Nope. Yes, it'll fit up there. We can get the mega funnel too, but I don't have enough engine efficiency. Do these fit? Oh, that one does. Can we get 2 of these in? No. What about the Mega Funnel 1 Lite? That does fit. You could go with that. in there. That looks absolutely fantastic. I could put another funnel here. I could put the mega funnel... I'm interfering now, aren't I? Put another one up here. That looks goofy as anything. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to explain why you might want to use something other than balanced. I prefer balanced. They're just generally a good option. But if you're lacking engine efficiency, forced I thought would fix it. But it doesn't. We're going to need a second funnel. Right, in that case, it might be worth looking at if... Nope. Mega funnel 1, mega funnel 2 fit? It does. Okay, let's get a mega funnel 2 in there. And then... I know it looks dreadful, but we're going to put a a second mega funnel 2 on top like that. It looks absolutely dreadful. I do apologise. Looks so weird like that. But we get great engine efficiency out of it. Sometimes the ship looks great. Sometimes it looks god awful. Okay. Guns, we're going to go for our 9-inch gun. I don't know if I'm going to use duals or triples. So with this type of hull, we don't have any built-in barbettes. So really we have a choice between triples and duals. I think I'm going to go for triples, simply for the ability to have a shorter citadel. So let's pop that down. Let's get our guns sorted out. So we're going to go for the best reloading ticks. Now, in terms of punch, the cruiser killer, we went with a cordite build. I'm going to go with a tube powder build this time. So tube powder super heavy shells with the cap ballistic 2 AP shells. So cruisers probably about 10,000 meter range is when we're going to actually be engaging. So that's 29.6 inches of pen, which is about 11.8 inches actual armor plate that we could go through. And that's not too bad. It should allow us to go through most enemy heavy cruisers. If you remember the cruiser killer that I had, this one, the Avatrite, had a 12-inch belt. So we'd be able to threaten a ship like that with our 9-inch guns. So that's absolutely perfect. I haven't changed the length at all. It's still on the 50 caliber. We have a rate of fire of 3.85 rounds a minute, which is pretty darn good. So we could consider lengthening the gun. What does a 55 look like? And what I'm looking at here is deck pen. So if you look at the deck pen on the 50, it's at 10,000 meters, 8.5. So about 3-inch in actual plate. And if we go for the 10, it goes down to 1.8. So we're not really going to be able to deck pen very easily with this. And we only go up to 13-inch in terms of the belt pen. So I'm going to leave it at the default length, a 9-inch 50 for this one. We then want to look at our our HE penetration. That's what I'm trying to say. So the magic number is 4. Let's have a look at a base fuse. So that's not quite enough. So we're going to soft cap. So that's pretty much guaranteed dead destroyers at 7,500 meters. Would be nice if it could go a little bit further. But, you know, we're not getting that much from the cap ballistic. So let's go soft cap HE. Then we'll need a bobette. We can just use this kind of fishing trawler type one. And then a gun on the back. So So that's our main armament, which should be doing most of the work. Then we'll want some secondary guns. We've been using 4-inch guns quite extensively, so might as well keep on doing that. Probably only going to fit 3 of them in. You could potentially put a little barbette here for a 4-inch gun, but we also have a space right here. Just 3 aside should be plenty, and then we'll see if we can shove some 2-inch guns in as well for extra destroyer shooing. And particularly on a ship like this, shooting transports. Very good use of a 2-inch gun. And those we're just going to make as long as possible. Now then, looking at other weapon systems, although I can't access this in a custom battle, you can fit heavy cruisers with depth charges in the campaign, if you have the tech for it. Not necessary. Heavy cruisers are more of an anti-surface unit, but it can potentially be useful. So this is a nice to have if you've got spare displacement or you don't mind spending the money for a depth charge. They can be useful. I mean, it does do 33 knots. It can be potentially useful against a submarine. Now, torpedoes. This hull has god-awful underwater mounting points, which would be my usual go-to for a ship like this, because I don't really want deck-mounted torpedoes. They tend to get blown off because these things do attract fire. Really, on this ship, I think it would be sacrificing this 4-inch gun for torpedoes. And I do think, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of torpedoes, but it's nice to have them. So if an enemy gets really close to you, then you do have some torpedoes, and it gives me a chance to talk about torpedoes as well. So I think on a heavy cruiser, having some ability to torpedo can be useful. It allows them to threaten much larger ships than themselves, and it gives them a bit of area denial as well. They can fire off torpedoes and force enemy ships to turn away and break off attacks and things like that. Obviously, we want radar. We definitely want sonar on a ship like this, because it is almost certainly going to be attracting some torpedo fire. Coincidence rangefinder I find is ideal on these sorts of things. In terms of the torpedoes, standard probably, or reduced for this type of ship. They're not really going to be throwing out a lot of these things. Generally speaking, the biggest torpedo that will fit is a good idea. What parts? I thought they fit. No, it doesn't want to take the 22. Try 21. Nope. You can maybe fit a triple. Yeah, go for a triple 22. There we go. So yeah, not a huge torpedoing ability, but it is there. In terms of propulsion, most of the time standards are fine. Don't worry about it. Standards, good choice. Fast is more for a ship that you are intending on running right up into the enemy's face and dumping lots and lots of fast torpedoes in the hopes of getting a hit. Electrics are sneaky, and they pair best with small torpedoes. So if you are running 18-inch torpedoes, then electrics are a good choice, because it makes them very hard to detect. Not that the AI won't have magical ability to see them anyway, but in theory, that's what it should do. And then you have the oxygen torpedoes, which are your kind of long-range torpedoes. They are also a little bit sneakier than the standards, but they increase the chance that they just explode. So, yeah, oxygens, if you're going primarily torpedo attack, like if that's your main mode of attack, Oxygens can be worth it. But for me, where the torpedoes are more of a backup weapon, very much a Hail Mary kind of thing, standard torpedoes is fine. In terms of protection, a heavy cruiser is not cheap. We're at 74 million or so already. That's quite an investment, and they can easily run to more. So we do want to protect it. So definitely bringing all of the best protective stuff we can. Triple bottoms aren't necessary, but they're nice to have. And there we are, right up at 100%. But we haven't done the armor yet, and we haven't done the weight either. So in terms of armament, we're going to follow a very similar armoring scheme to... We could follow the same armoring scheme that we used for the cruiser killer, where we take the caliber of the gun, so we go for a 9, 4.5, something like that. That would be kind of a starting point for us. 4.5, and then half again. So say 2.2, and then 1.5. The guns, will take the main and add 2. So go for 11. And half it, so 5.5. And then we'll do the inners as well. Now we could armor her up like that. That is one option. Another option would be to consider more what she could potentially come up against, and to allow her to effectively bully smaller ships. So a smaller ship could be a light cruiser, which could have a 7-inch gun. So if we take a 7-inch gun with the same setup that we have, that thing can go through at 10,000 meters, 16.2 inches of armor effective, which comes out at about 6.5. So if we had 6.5 inches of belt armor, we'd be completely safe from a light cruiser at 10,000 meters, but we don't. We have 9, so how does that turn out? That's 22.5. So we're okay down to about 7,000 meters against a light cruiser, which is okay, but it's not brilliant. So we might want to consider up-armoring our belt a bit. Our deck, on the other hand, is fine. The light cruiser is only going to be able to go through 3.5. So our decks, if we could get to 3.5, we would be absolutely fine from a light cruiser. Probably. So I'm going to set these to 0, actually, just to remind myself. So we don't need that. And to make ourselves pretty much completely safe from a light cruiser, I don't think that's possible. No, but we can get pretty close with our 9-inch. Now, what about a destroyer? Now, a destroyer could have a 5-inch gun, potentially. So if you look at the 5-inch gun, that can go through up to, really, 12 inches of armor. Damn, that's a punchy... but that's at 1,000 meters. So 5,000 meters, 16.7, divide 2.5, 6-ish inches of armor. And in terms of deck pen, 1.7. So 2-inch of 4.5 deck means that against light cruisers and destroyers, they shouldn't be able to get deck penetrations against us. If we try to armor up against a heavy cruiser, like our own ship, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble. We're going to need more like 8 inches of main deck armor, which is a bit extreme. We're going to go for 4. So this should keep us safe. Now, in terms of the belt pen, if we look at, say, this 7,500 meters, what are we talking about? 5.2 No, 4.5. So a 5-inch 4.5 belt should keep us completely safe, even from 5-inch armed punchy destroyers. And to keep us safe from that 7-inch gun, if we went for a 10-inch, a 10-inch main belt, we should be safe. Then we need to do our inner belts. So if we can fit it, we'll go for the half. But it looks like that's not going to be doable. So we're going to go for just. We're going to go for multiple 1.5 layers if we can. So 1.5, and then it'll update all of them like so. So we do have that inner layering to help us out. Right, next would be balancing. We could just push this gun back, which actually is quite tempting, but we are overweight, so I'm just going to move the towers back just a smidge, if I can. Like one spot the torpedoes actually work. Hasn't saved us very much weight, but every little helps. And then we look back at our ship and we go, right, we're 8% overweight. That's not very good, but we built her as a minimum displacement ship, so we can simply increase her displacement. The ship's going to change size at some point. Yes. If we go for a max length one, yeah, that would work. So we could go. We could just max the displacement now, if we wanted. No difference in price is about 5 million to do that. So I know I said restraint, but building on the minimum displacement stops you from going crazy. We end up with a bigger ship than maybe intended, but we're still under 100 million without crew, which is not too shabby actually. And we've got a little bit of displacement spare to do what we want. So the range is already fantastic. You can consider upping range. We have default beam and draft, so we don't really need extra bulkheads, but we could bring it. Yeah, we could bring many bulkheads for a little bit of extra survivability. Or we could bring a spacious crew. Or we could go possibly for the triple bottom hull. No, it's too heavy. Basically, one of any of these things. You could maybe bring an RDF. You could bring depth charges. Or you could just leave the displacement spare for refits. I'm just going to leave it because it's at 99.7 million, which is just under 100 million, which is, yeah, a good price for a medium weight heavy cruiser like this in 1930. I can't remember off the top of my head how much the two battle cruisers were, but I know that they were over 100 million for sure. In fact, actually, I can check. Just going to quickly add in the other ships. So the battle cruiser was, or the two battle cruisers, the true battle cruiser was 178, and the cruiser killer was 152.5. So for our heavy cruiser to be under 100, that's decent. Okay, let's get rid of those again. Right, let's try her out and see how she does. Would you... right. I could submit a bug about this. This is the design invalid, cannot build, select a ship of the required type bug. It is so annoying. You see it in custom battles a lot. Basically, there's a problem with particularly if you have battleships and battlecruisers. The game will absolutely throw a fit at you. But I don't. You just need to delete the offending design, whichever one it is. There we go. It usually fixes it. There we go. So if you just delete extra designs up here, yes, I know it's annoying, especially if they're ships that you actually want or need, but that is why the HMS fixer showed up. That is how you fix it. You just delete extra designs that you have. It is very annoying. If you do get it, please report it using the report bug button or press Ctrl J. Anyway, let's test around. I've got an enemy heavy cruiser plus a light and a destroyer, which is a bit of a stretch for a single ship to take on, but I do like testing ships in an extreme manner. And what we're mainly looking for here is that we're not taking damage from the enemy light cruisers and the light cruiser and the destroyer. We really shouldn't take much damage from them unless it's a torpedo. This is the French design. It's a little bit undergunned. Wow, 3 twin 6-inch guns. That's very light. So we should be good against that type of ship, one would hope. It's the torpedoes that we're going to have to watch. Whoa, that's a lot of torpedoes. 4-inch guns on what I think is actually the light cruiser. So this is the advantage of going with heavy cruisers. They have torpedo protection, which can prove to be extremely useful. But there we go, one heavy cruiser. It looks incredibly ugly with the hideous funnel arrangement. I think probably with oil 3, maybe a turbo electric wouldn't help. Yeah, maybe oil 3 and 4 spoilers you could get away with one funnel, but and it wouldn't look quite as ugly. Or I could have put it on the deck rather than up on the tower. Just trying to save space. And aesthetics are not the be-all and end-all of ship design. They have 12.9 kilometer torps. They have 9.9. And they have 12 kilometer torps. Okay, so we don't have to worry about them too much. I've given them a cadet crew again. If there's a single video where I don't forget, I'll be amazed. Well, that's fine, because I do actually want to try it against a slightly better heavy cruiser, ideally. Just to show that these things, if they get into a scrap with an enemy heavy cruiser, potentially they're going to take a fair amount of damage. But against light cruisers and destroyers, they should be able to blast through them, no problem at all, as long as they don't get hit by a torpedo. And that's often the way of it. Your ships will punch down, with the exception of battleships or true battle cruisers. Most of the time you're punching down. With your heavy cruisers, your cruiser killers, your light cruisers, you're punching down. So you're looking to take out enemy ships of a lower class, or lesser class than you. That's more like it. 4 triple 7.1-inch guns. Okay, well, we are supposedly protected against 7-inch guns, so that is a good test of whether this armor scheme is enough. We will take damage on the extended portions of the ship from 7-inch guns, however. So we do need to be a little bit careful. What's our torpedo? ring looking like 9.5 for that ship. That's the light cruiser. Destroyer 12.7. Heavy cruiser 12.6. Okay. There we go. See that really nice high rate of fire on the 9-inch guns. Extra ammo is definitely something you might want to think about for this type of ship. Oh, a ricochet, that's unfortunate. Actually going to put her on save. Oh, and torpedoes on save as well. But if I'm in range with my torps, they're in range with theirs, so going to start manoeuvring. Four-inch gun's not firing for some reason. Oh, there we go. Again, always wise to just keep manoeuvring. Looks like these French ships are pretty speedy. Another nice thing to have on a heavy cruiser is a 360 turret on the rear, if you can fit it. This ship does not have that, but can be useful. Yeah, lots of torpedoes. We're going to be torpedo dodging for a bit. You see this thing turns really well. Drifting in a 15,000-ton ship. Oh, she's firing torps at me. Do another circle. Oh, fire our own torpedo. Okay. Should give the AI something to think about. Right, run amidships and fire. She's probably turning to fire another set. Oh, nice hit. Actually, try just HE with the main guns. No. AP then. Come on, shoot. There we go. Just overpen. Flood. There we go. So that's the light cruiser dealt with. And you can see we took hits, I think. But really not much in the way of damage. Yeah, it says you didn't hit with her 6-inch guns at all? Really? Well, I mean, if they don't hit you, then you're protected against their fire, I guess. Right. We do have some torpedoes coming in, but I think we're avoiding them already. Main guns and secondaries. This is the real test of our armor. So they have 7-inch guns, so they shouldn't be able to hit us in the Citadel. I should find that very difficult. And you can see we are also finding that difficult. In fact, just fire everything at it. Get those HE shells on the go as well. Oh, I have built the ship wrong. I've just noticed we're still on max HE. You should use standard. I will fix that when I get back into the designer. You should be on standard standard shells for something like this. Yeah, she's turning to fire her port side torpedoes, I think, or she's trying to dodge mine. I'm not sure, but I'd rather throw their aim off a bit. Yeah, we've taken 8 hits from those 7-inch guns now. Oh, destroying torpedoes. And firing our own. Lovely. But, yeah, AI will spot and do horrible things to me with that. Their destroyer fired. Yeah, I think it might have done. She still has her underwaters, the enemy heavy cruiser. Nah, just stick with HE for now. Oh, a pen. HE pen on the aft belt. Yeah, that'll do it. Every time I see them maneuvering, I'm like, they're about to try and shoot me with a torpedo. But as you can see, those soft cap HE shells can really do an awful lot of damage. They have just enough pen on the 4-inch gun to go through lightly armoured sections of the ship. This thing does not have amazing armour by any means, but it does have some. Now try auto. You do sometimes see with the game, heavy cruisers can be really weird in terms of penetration. You just either overpen them or partial pen them. Very annoying sometimes. But, you know, constant barrage of fire from those 9-inch guns doing the job quite nicely. And down goes the heavy cruiser. Let's see if we can get that destroyer. That's a good hit from a 4-inch gun. That's a very fast destroyer, by the way. 40 knots. But that constant hail of secondary fire will get the odd hit, and then she slows down, and then she's dead. But there you can see, just like, I was pleased with that, actually. That is a pretty resounding endorsement of this type of design. You know, the French AI here had wow, their heavy cruiser was 135 million. This is including crew. Their light cruiser was 65, and their destroyer was 51, and ours was 129. So not only did they have a more expensive heavy cruiser, they also had 2 other ships that, I mean, the light cruiser and the destroyer, as expected. I mean, this thing is designed to kind of withstand that. It did barely any damage. The heavy cruiser, which had light cruiser caliber guns, again, really failed to make much of an impression. So this ship definitely holding its own against lesser equipped foes, whilst dealing, a lot of damage, mostly from the 9s, but the 2-inch guns. See, I keep telling people, don't underestimate 2-inch guns. 8,000 damage from the 2-inch guns, because these ships have lightly protected bits, and if you're firing a soft cap 2-inch shell, sometimes it'll go through and cause an awful lot of damage. Yes, I want to play again because I want to fix my shells. So don't go max HE. Go standard. Changes the price a little bit to 99.8, but we're still under 100 million because you do want the AP shells to be able to shoot at armoured targets, and we ran very low during that battle. So, you probably want standard. But there we go. One typical heavy cruiser. Feel free to use this type of build in your own campaigns. And if you do, let me know how it goes. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you again soon for some more Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Bye for now.